Mhm. You need a giant sequoia?
Sure, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep,
I don't need it necessarily, but I didn't mean to leave it either.
okay.
We planted one of these down in front of our church.
Oh, you did?
But,
Like kind of when those came through before?
yeah,
Yeah.
7 or 8 years ago.
Mhm.
something like that. Started to take off.
Uh-huh. You're in the tree cutting down side instead of the growing side at this point on our property, so.
Sounded like if you go to the website,
Mhm.
these are all genetically similar trees.
Very
From
cool.
like one really old
Very
tree
cool.
that's from here.
Uh-huh.
They're somewhere, I want to say like Midwest.
Uh-huh.
It's a really cool thing that Rotary did. That I guess
Awesome.
having the county not take action has worked out for our students.
So plant some across the
That's what
street.
they were supposed to be for,
Oh,
but they must go in the ground.
and they're not ready yet. Seeing it.
There.
That seems alarming, huh?
No.
Phone satellite extraneous.
Yeah, but I think that would be good to know.
There's all sorts
No.
of data that I consider like textual, but don't. There's obviously ways you can frame data to color one, but that one is a curious one of like how many kids.
Statistics.
Yeah.
And if they even, I guess it would take a little bit of a run to figure out if they took it more than once.
At least when my son took it, I thought that the results were mailed to our phone.
Right.
And so I don't know, like as a school, I've just never been on that end, you know, like it comes back to us or if it does. You know,
It did
anything
come
about
back.
that?
It did come back.
SAT data? Like I had my son take it, but it was his senior year and he was doing online, so we're traveling a lot this school. And so we got the results in the mail, his test.
All right, I'm gonna search.
Shayla just gave that, and so do you know how data
Right.
comes back into the school?
I got a piece of paper, at least.
I can ask.
We did something.
But I don't
Right.
know, that's why
I
I
don't
was.
know if we did something because it's the kids and it's.
Thank you.
It's a separate private test.
I'd like to call the meeting to order for the Orford-Langlois School District Data Workshop. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you to all that have joined us. We'll move forward into item 2.1, our new business of student data.
And excuse me, could I interject? There are people trying to get into the meeting that say their link says there is another meeting in progress. Is that?
I don't know what to do, to be honest with you.
Okay, okay. I know Skydra was trying to join us and she said she wasn't able to get in.
Well, the link on our website, I think, is wrong, so. I honestly don't know what to tell you.
Okay.
This is something that will have a recording to read
We'll have a
right later.
I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, that's fine.
Sorry, Aaron.
Our apologies for those that might be trying to join us and find this later. We missed you.
Very sorry.
We also miss Rusty.
Yes, we do.
Considering no further context. Ready to break?
Yes, so what we have for you tonight is we are required to share and want to share the data that we report to ODE that are big metrics for the student investment account, high school success, and early intervention and instruction systems, and early literacy grant. All of those are big grants that come from the Department of Ed at the state level. And as part of those funds coming our way, we are monitoring six, I think, metrics now to monitor our progress towards those goals. And they are third grade reading proficiency, eighth grade math proficiency, ninth graders on track to graduate, 4-year graduation rates, 5th year completer rates, and then attendance across the board. The only one different than what we've heard in the past is the 8th grade math metric, which is new for this year, but also one that we're ahead of the game asking for before the state required it. So we have all of that data for you tonight. And then once we hear the basic data, obviously we've got time for you to ask questions and let us know anything that you would like to hear more about or see more in depth. And then as always, how we present to you and what's going to help you understand the data. All those are pieces that we would want input on as well. And tonight we have our two principals that are here to share data, but we also have Donna Johannesmeyer, who is our Title I reading teacher. And there's a lot of things that go with Title I that have everything to do with data and accountability at the state and federal level, and then more importantly, at the building level to so we can monitor where our kids are, prescribe interventions that are going to help them move forward, and also working with our staff to address those high level pieces that are going to help us improve what we do, and help our kids achieve at a higher level. And then when we get to high school, it's really, attendance and whether kids are passing or failing their classes so that they are on track to graduate. And again, you will hear from Ms. Williams about some of the things that they're putting in place to help address those. So data to share where we're at, information about what we're doing to move things forward and address our data and the things that we see in that, and then to answer any questions. Is there anything that's important for what we want to share and accomplish tonight?
Thank you.
Yep. So Donna, would you like to start us off?
Try to be more brief than last year. Thank you guys. This year, but when I came last year, I introduced the Title I program and I shared our baseline data that we had. Then tonight, I'm going to be sharing our mid-year update to see where we are now and how our instructional work is supporting our students at Driftwood. Then I have a brief math update as well. So clicker here. There we go. Ooh, good ask. Can't see. So I have some literacy data for us to review, math data, quick snapshot of that, what our response has been instructionally, and then our next steps. So just kind of quickly go through those. I have lots of pretty colored slides. And so I will show you guys. Yay. Somebody was able to join. Okay. So this is our iReady, and iReady gives us a really broad picture of reading, comprehension, vocabulary. For the lower grades, it does do phonics, as well as in the upper grades, the comprehension will be comprehension for informational text, narrative text. And so this is one that we use K through 6. And I do want to give a disclaimer at the bottom here that this is not a matched cohort when we look at iReady. We've had a lot of mobility of students either moving away or joining us, or going to the family academy. So everyone who took it in the fall is included here. So it's not exactly matched. The DIBELS data did match it up. So it's student by student. We'll be able to look at that. But what we're looking at here is the top bar is most recent, middle of the year. Dark green is well above grade level, or above grade level. This green is at grade level, approaching grade level, maybe 1 year below. And then we have a red, which is 2 grade levels below. And then the dark red band is 3 or more grade levels below. So you can see this line is fall. That's our beginning of the year data. So you can see that the green grew from here to here. So our proficiency for reading, that's where it is right now. We do still have a pocket of well below grade level and below grade level, but I'll talk a little bit more about that one as we get to it. So that's just a brief overview. We are definitely seeing improvements on iReady. And then I made a similar slide for, DIBELS. And so DIBELS stands for, you probably hear people talk about it, as the Dynamic Indicator of Basic Early Literacy Skills. And it is, it's a timed test that we give students 3 times a year. They will do 1 minute timed readings, and it's how many words correct per minute. And then we do accuracy as a component of that, retell, which is the comprehension piece. And then 3rd through 6th graders have an additional comprehension that is called the maze. So this one I did do a matched cohort. So this is students who were here at the beginning, and the bottom is the fall, and the top is our winter benchmarks. So our goal is to move kids out of the intensive intervention, and I think we're making progress here. So you can see that we have more kids that are at or above grade level. And I hope that this that
Shifted about 5%.
makes sense to you. And then.
Donna, I had a question.
Yes.
So with the iReady and the Dibbles data, aside from the matched cohort where you might have dropped students out, does that cover all students at Driftwood or is that a subset of students?
Students, this is all of them. And I can break it down, and I do have, I'll give them to you in just a minute. I have it broken down by grade level for you for that one. But this is just one that I made. Dibbles doesn't have an easy to use reporting software with it. So this is kindergarten. Too fast there. This is kindergarten through second, Dibbles movement towards the benchmark from fall to winter. So this is kindergarten, and this is the red, of course, is in the kindergarten class, how many students were below grade level. Approaching and above, the colors are red, yellow, green, blue. And so beginning of the year kindergarten, you can see we had quite a few that were well below benchmark. That number has shifted. And we have quite a few who are above grade level now. So kindergarten has made a huge amount of growth in this. First grade as well, we have much more of the above and at grade level. And then this down here is our second graders. And this is one grade. This is great information for us because it's consistent on iReady as well, is that we have a population of students who are not responding to intervention. So with our new multi-tiered systems of support that Swindle has gotten that's going with, we're able to identify what is going on here. You know, is this a place where we have maybe a referral for evaluations for special ed? Do we need to do more tier 3 intensive intervention with these students? Is there something going on attendance wise? Is there something going on that we can have our school counselor involved in? So that's what this information is telling us, is that we need to dive deeper into these students to find out what's going on there. So we have multiple places that we get data from that we're able to evaluate and respond to. And then for third through, this one, this is a new feature that we have on our Dibbles monitoring website. And these are, and I love the colors, blue and green, like the response to instruction and response to intervention. And so our students that were in red in first grade, blue means high response to instruction. So we had a large proportion that were high response to instruction that were in that red zone. For the yellow students, we had solid green, high response. Our students who were green had a high and an average response. And then you can see that we had one little subset here that was a less than required response to intervention. So, and then that pocket of second graders that I told you about, interestingly, that's it right here. There's a response to intervention and instruction is lower than we would want. So this piece of information tells us that that's where we need to focus our attention.
And I would say that too, there's definitely an anomaly with those second graders. But with the first graders, I would expect, with the progress you've been getting with our younger kids and our kids in need of intervention, I would expect that to be in that realm a little bit for our kids that are already exceeding, because we're really focusing on helping those kids that are struggling. And as we move forward, we continue to help those kids that are struggling and then figure out ways to help those kids that are already really on track continue to build their skills too.
Yeah.
But it would make sense to me, as we're really focused on those intervention kids and the kids that are struggling, that we might have a little slower progress in that upper end.
Some of those students have been moved on within MTSS so that we are moving to do some evaluations and some other kinds of assessments to see what else we can do for
MTSS.
multi-tiered systems of support. So
we have,
Donna is part of that, special education is part of that, but it's our team. And we meet and we collect Donna's data and anecdotal classroom evidence, as well as attendance data and behavior data. And we look at all of it to see what we can do to assist each student.
In those multi-tiered systems of support, you see a lot of green, yellow, and red in the graphs. The blue is the exceeding. We want to see a lot of that too. But in green, yellow, and red, it's really, are you on track? Are you close to being on track? Are you not on track? And in those multi-tiered systems of support, we're looking at those green pieces, those things that we do universally with core instruction, meet most kids' needs, but we have to have another tier and another level of support when we get to the yellow zone and they need a little something, or when they're in that red zone and they're really not responding to core instruction or the basic interventions we have in place. Sorry.
Oh, you're great.
I have a question
Yes.
too. So on the first grade, the rainbow arc looking ones,
Yeah.
am I interpreting that right? That the number of students in red, or the percentage of students in red, really didn't decrease much from fall to spring? I mean, the arc of the red looks pretty similar.
It is, yes. So
Okay,
there are, but I will say that, and I could show you the data, all of the students have made growth,
okay,
but to move out of that
Mhm.
well below grade level is not an instant thing.
right.
It's going
Okay, and
to
that's
take
kind of
time.
what your response
Yeah,
to
and
instruction
that's what-
shows. That's why it, okay.
And it's concerning to me because I can
Yes.
see that
Okay.
they are responding to intervention. This is probably one student right here,
Mhm.
and so that would be one that we might want to, at our next data team meeting, that would be someone that would be discussed.
Yeah,
That's
those are
another
nice.
piece, and I'm probably sharing something that Donna's gonna, anyway, when you look at that first grade group, it's a marked difference between the size of blue and green at the beginning of the year
Mhm.
and then the middle of the year. And so it's really easy to see that graphs, and you see that a lot in her graphs. We're moving kids up to blue and green. And then it doesn't look like red is moving a lot, but within that, they're not so far behind and they're getting closer to jumping into yellow. And then when they get into yellow, they really start to take off. And that's where we're having good success with blue and green. But that movement of color is huge and easy to see. But the movement, I love that new graph.
Yeah.
Isn't this
You can
great?
see the
Yeah.
movement within the
Yeah.
color.
And I will say about Dibbles, it is really focusing on their decoding and their fluency. And so in order for students to be able to comprehend what they're reading, they have to be able to read the text effectively. So this Dibbles really in the earlier grades is focused on decoding and fluency. And there is a component of they retell it to us within a minute and we evaluate whether they've retold. No. Okay, so moving on from that one, did I go too far? I did. This is the third through sixth grade, and they add the MAIDS component, which is a 3-minute time test, and it has a place where they choose the best of 3 words to make a sentence make sense within a story. So it measures comprehension. So you can see here's the third grade beginning, fourth.
There.
Yeah, so look, each class has some, and sixth grade is looking great here. So these are good numbers. And as I mentioned, that one also measures reading comprehension more. So you wanted, Mr. Miller asked for third grade reading comprehension to
Yeah.
focus in.
You're sharing everything, but the third grade reading proficiency is the metric that the state really looks at.
And so the way this is organized, I brought you the iReady data and the Dibbles data for third grade and just the names on. So I sorted it. This is the way I like to look at it. Is I sorted it by placement at the middle of the year. And this is beginning of the year. And these columns show some different indicators of how much growth they've made. We call it typical growth, and this is stretch growth. So typical growth by the end of the year, we would want 100%. So looking at these, it gives us scores on here. So I can go through and I can see that everybody is making growth. It's just a quick check. And this is all of so I have 4 here that are red, and then I have the rest of them are green. So for my third grade readers. And that's for iReady. And then looking over at Dibbles, I sorted it kind of the same way. This is beginning of the year, this is middle of the year, and I sort it from low to high in the numbers. And I can see, even though we're at 47 here, this started at 2. So a composite score of 2 to 47. So that's growth. 130 to 216. So I can see that we are making growth, and where the bar is on here is kind of how close they are to moving into the next color zone, which you were asking about. So I can see that there's growth. So on this one, I have middle of the year, I have 3. So it's pretty consistent, 3. And then this is that there's that same pathways of progress that we were looking at on the other one. I can see who's, so this one, who's made that growth, that is this there, 4. I mean, huge amount of growth. So those are good things. So this is my 3rd grade.
Yeah, and that the kid that's making the most progress there is still in the red zone. But they're moving forward from where they're at to where they can get.
Yes or no?
Forward, yes.
Okay, questions? Good. And then what does this tell us? Students are making progress in their foundational reading skills. That's measured in the Dibbles. iReady shows similar trends in the grade level. The different assessments measure different aspects of reading. So this helps explain why the results across Dibbles, iReady, and then I have some OSAS data to look at, which is the Oregon State Assessment, why they don't align perfectly. They're measuring, they have different methods of measurement. So, and also to remind myself that their reading growth is influenced by many factors outside of our 30 minutes of dedicated intervention and extension time every day. The tier 1 instruction in the classroom, which we're working on, growing that practice at the school, the student mobility in and out of the schools, individual learning needs as far as IEPs, their attendance behavior, all of those are factors, and family involvement in school. So this was a really great visual, I thought. Mrs. Thompson made this slide for me, and I popped it in here. So this is looking at OSAS, and this is the one that is reported to the state. And so this is the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders that we have now. This is where they scored. So the top one is OSAS. We have, and this is in reading or ELA. This is the state test for ELA, which includes reading and writing. 18% of our students were proficient. 24 this is tier 3, tier 2, and tier 1. So 58% of our students were not proficient on the OSAS. And I'm going to go into that a little bit more. For Dibbles data, this is, like I said, our current 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. And this is that 3 times a year, 1-minute oral reading passage, a retell, and then the 3-minute close reading. And you can see these are our proficients, approaching and below, and then iReady, which is also 3 times a year, tests phonological awareness, vocabulary, and comprehension. So 36% were at grade level, 40% approaching, and 24% below. So those numbers are really different.
I have a question.
Yes.
So the Dibbles and the iReady are our current test scores.
Yes.
The OSAS would be last year's 3rd graders that are this year's 4th graders.
Yes. Yes. I'm sorry. So this, you're right. I'm sorry.
2024.
Yes, it was last year's 3rd graders, 4th graders, and 5th graders. Yes. Okay. So it's the current students we have. We did not include the 6th graders on here because they're from last year, because they're no longer at our schools. We took them out of this data set.
So each of those 3 lines would be inclusive of grades 3, 4, and 5?
I'm sorry, it would be the current, this year's 4th graders, this year's 5th graders, and this year's 6th graders. The 3rd graders of this year have not taken OSAS yet. This is going to be the first experience with it. So we have a really strong, you saw that the data was strong for our 3rd graders this year, and they will be taking the state assessment for the first time. So there's a big discrepancy in those numbers. And I broke it down a little bit more, and we don't have to go through this. If you want me to go through it, I can, but this is Dibbles, iReady, and OSAS. And so you can see, that we had 2 students. This is our current 4th graders class of 2034. This is last year's information for them. So we had 2 that were proficient end of the year in OSAS. And again, this is the class of 2033. There are current 5th graders. This is all of their data from 3rd grade and all of their data from 4th grade. And at the bottom, we have the state standard proficiency of our students versus the state average. And so for OSAS, what we're seeing is we need to invest some time and resources into practicing, becoming familiar with the testing platform. One thing about OSAS is that it is heavy in writing, and writing instruction is where we need to focus time, as well as keyboarding, which we are doing. We have recently purchased Step Up to Writing, which will be professional development will be provided next fall before school starts, and we'll be using that in our classrooms, some dedicated writing time. And this year we have started using Keyboarding Without Tears, which is the students have to type all of their, all of the state assessment writing portions are typing. It's not handwritten into a booklet. So our students have to know how to type in order to do well on the writing assessment. And so this is looking at a class of 2032. This is our current 6th graders. And this is their 3rd grade data. We switched systems, so I don't have Dibbles data. And if they don't have scores in, they weren't our students then. So you can tell that from this that we've had a lot of mobility throughout the years with students. This is where we are now. The 6th graders that we have now, this is last year's Dibbles, iReady, and OSAS. So you can see that they don't necessarily align well.
Please refresh me. Will you came in on the 22-23, or was it 23-24 as our Title I specialist? 24-25.
We're 1.5 years into
Okay.
our intervention.
Yeah, because you can see movement on that.
And to calibrate practices, it's going to be like this 5-year window where you're doing the interventions, rolling out practices in the classroom that kind of mirror that they can do in small group instruction or whole group instruction. So we're working very hard on kind of getting our practices shift a bit so that we can improve the scores. But the writing component is going to be super important because we didn't spend a lot of time on that, and that's a big part of the OSAS score.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have access to the data, but there is a way to pull out the writing data versus the reading comprehension. And I saw it last year when Mr. Brown was here, but I don't actually have the information.
We will
that
have
I
it
can
for conferences.
Okay, that we can pull out and see across the board that writing was definitely an area of need we needed to address. And so that's what we're doing. So this is our current 6th graders. And so, yeah, you can see that definitely the proficiency is growing, and last year was 40%. So making growth.
I really like how you've laid that out, Donna. It's helpful just to see what correlates, what doesn't, and it roughly correlates, but there's a few students that are kind of some interesting things going on.
And it's the same when you see students who are proficient in one area, like this here, right? Dibbles is
exactly.
above, and early 5th grade, and then level
Yeah,
1. So, was that what happened there?
Right. Well, and then it's just one day, one part of one day.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. So there's lots of ways to interpret that. And okay, moving on. I don't take all your time. So basically, I said these things are already too. We need to increase our writing instruction, which is what we're doing with our Step Up to Writing. Keyboarding practice to support our online assessments, which we're using Keyboarding Without Tears. which also has a test-taking component to it, a module insert. So practice with the testing platform with targeted writing practice, which our students are doing. iReady has a component that they've been using in classrooms, and continue our structured literacy instruction that we're doing within our WIN time. Professional development, we have Step Up to Writing that we're doing professional development. We've been doing a book study on informational text, which is what to support instruction there. And then we also have science of reading. And I think math is much quicker. So the math numbers, we're getting going in a new math intervention program. We have an evidence-based program that we have been using this year. It's called BMath. And we have a Title I aide who is doing small group instruction. It's not the dedicated 30-minute WIN block that we have for reading yet, but we're working towards that in providing math intervention as well. So here is our all-school math.
Nice.
And I'm not going to go through all of these. This is but I do have, this is our current fourth graders. You could see the numbers there. Current fifth graders. There's their third grade and fourth grade data. And our current sixth graders. We have the third, fourth, and fifth grade. And this also has science within it as well. And I can share this with any of you if you'd like to study it further. So you see trends in it. And these are the instructional practices that we've been implementing in order to help our students grow. We're using ECRI within the Title I reading and phonics for reading and rewards. These are all science-based, evidence-based systems that we have purchased. Aligned science of reading in Tier 1. Tier 1 is just basic classroom instruction that all students receive. Targeted WIN groups, we do weekly progress monitoring with our students who are receiving the Tier 2 intervention. Professional development is ongoing. Keyboarding without tears again, practices, and I've mentioned all those too. Step Up to Writing and BMath. And then, did you guys have any questions for me?
Can you back up one slide, please? So all of those things have the double-edged sword. There are things that are implemented and the actual instruction reaches the kids, but there's a lot of that middle piece with the professional development is huge, and how they are working with teachers to be on the same page, to understand that science of reading and understand those elements of what they put into their instruction that will reap them the most effective benefits in terms of student performance.
We've been
So
tapping
it's
into early
It all has
success.
to happen together or it doesn't work.
And Lisa and I have both been attending the Early
Success.
School Success Academy through the Children's Institute, and we have one of their amazing literacy experts coming to our school on April 3rd for professional development to talk with us and work with us on aligning our classroom Tier 1 practices with everything that's happening.
And that group is
That will
the
be
group
great.
that works with Young Kala, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Because that was a presentation that a couple of you saw at the Oregon School Boards Association workshops.
And we are actually I think we're on their schedule in mid-May to go, hopefully, and see their school and kind of go do a tour of it and have a panel discussion with some of their teachers and Title I teachers. I'm working with Erin Holgren. So the Early School Success Academy.
She's
been a
amazing.
Great,
Yeah.
great opportunity for us to participate in. And any other questions?
I would just like to say, I really appreciate how you're pulling that data together and thinking through it and analyzing it and watching so that there aren't students that are just stuck somewhere that are, I mean, the numbers look okay if you don't look too close, but it looks like you're doing a deep dive into that to really think about how to reach each student. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I also liked following the classes where you can see their trajectory.
Yep, and watching them grow. It's been great. Speaking of which, leave you with the last slide. We have some really fun things that have been happening at Driftwood lately, and I invite all of you to stop by and see some of it. This is our most fun thing right now. It's March Madness that we're doing with books. And so it's hanging outside of the third grade classroom, and every day the classrooms are reading 2 books and they're voting. And it really has been joyful. So much competition over books and discussions. And with all of our Read Across America things last week, literacy has just, it's been a joyful thing in the school as of late.
Particularly love
Kindness treat.
the classes that read together.
Yes.
I really think that anchors in our community because those students form bonds around a book
Yeah.
that they otherwise wouldn't find on the playground, the cafeteria, or the bus.
In here, we had Officer Perry was reading for our 6th graders. I thought I had that one in here. It was great. Yeah, yeah, it was a really good one. So thank you for allowing this to happen. We're doing good work there.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you, Donna.
Yes, thank
Lisa.
Yep.
The only thing that I
Anything else to add?
because Donna did the heavy lift this. Thank you, Donna, I appreciate it.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, Lisa. I just wanted to give everyone a heads up. The Zoom links are fixed. So if you did want to reach out to those who are still trying to get in, it is working, both on the website and the links.
Thank you, Rusty.
Thank you, and I think we were able to let one person we knew about get on. Welcome, Skydra.
Started talking.
Thank you.
Been here for a while.
okay.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thanks for fixing it, Rusty.
We miss you.
No problem. Thank you,
sleeping.
guys.
Six for data. Really, my job was easy. I just had to come up with what our attendance looks like, and it's not great, unfortunately. A lot of factors are going into that. Students that we know are struggling with illnesses. We've been hit hard at Driftwood with all kinds of, I call it the Driftwood yuck, but the kids have been hit really hard. I've had families that have been traveling, extended vacations. And I've had several students that have experienced medical issues. But our attendance is spotty. I've got the kids that are solid. Oh my goodness, 93% above in attendance. I've got that middle ground between, 90 and 95% that can fluctuate. And then I have those 18 students that are pretty consistently not attending school. But, we're making the phone calls. We are sending home the letters. We are offering assistance where we can. This is where it is right now. And then attached is some Swiss data that I just gave to you. We seem to be trending with, lower amounts of referrals. And I gave you the data of, I extracted the months from last year, just so you can do a comparison. There's like a difference between like 40, 43 referrals. And then you can see it by location. And what's very interesting is it's come down significantly in the classroom. And I want to correlate that a little bit, not completely, but classrooms have book time in the Eagle's Nest and kids have scheduled times to take breaks. And this seems to have them getting back into the classroom and staying regulated and keeping them there. So I'm hopeful that trend will continue. But we haven't hit April yet. And as you can see from data last year, April is a really tough month with behaviors. So we'll see what happens. I don't know what. If you have any questions, let me know.
Not questions, just, yeah,
Yeah. Concerns.
yeah. What's happening with the poor 5th graders?
I will tell you that having a school counselor is going to help once we're really locked and loaded in school. But without having mental health counseling within the community, has really presented quite a bit of a problem for certain pockets of students. And I would say that that would be one group that would benefit from consistent services that we just don't have.
And those are their counseling services have started late, but what you're really speaking to is that more in-depth, deeper dive counseling that
Yes.
we don't do with school counselors that we refer out for that our community is lacking.
We did have someone come in on campus and service 2 days a week, but they quit and the organization has been unable to hire anybody else at this point. So I think, we've been talking about maybe some other ways to address it, but that wouldn't happen until next year if they can't hire somebody for us.
And those are all resources. Those resources are resources outside of our district or control.
Yeah.
It should be available to us, but through other agencies, but not.
It's hard. When our school counselor comes in the building, her box is jam-packed with kids wanting to talk to her.
It'd be really interesting to know that spreadsheet.
Oh, to see, yes, and I'm sure we could identify and correlate many of those students within, absolutely. If it's hard, they're not going to want to come. They're struggling, they're not going to want to come. And families also some feel very stigmatized when you suggest further assessments to see what's happening. They don't want to agree to it. And so I've had some hard discussions this year with several families that just don't want to take it any further. So we're doing the best we can right now.
Any other questions or concerns? Lisa or Donna at this point?
Thanks for breaking this down into time and space.
Interesting. Yeah, the time is interesting, but the way that the spaces have flip-flopped, right? Classrooms used to be right up here and now, right? But you'll see an uptick in other areas, but the playground isn't as awful as it used to be. So it's kind of fun to see, what's impacting. Is it the eagle's nest in the classrooms? And then is it having our behavior interventionists out at, recess? And I'm going to say yes to all of that because I think those have really helped.
What we focus on, we have impact.
I think also they have more choices at recess.
Classrooms, the equals more really reflective because they end up there.
Yeah, that's not really, it's not a classroom of kids.
They don't get
It's a-
referred out.
It's a resource to help.
They get
them.
referred in.
Yes.
Yes.
Right, that's not a location that's counted because they counted before they got there.
So another thing I would share about our data when we have workshops like this is, there's a lot of data in some places, there's little in others, but as you look through things, if there's anything else that you have questions about, I think it's fair game. Principal report time at the regular board meeting to ask some questions there and follow up if you have any.
Thank you.
All right, so if there's nothing else from Lisa and Donna,
I handed out a piece of paper for you to follow along. And basically, I'm going to start with 8th grade and then through it. 8th grade ELA and math proficiency. We just got iReady approved, and so we're going to have our first iReady test this spring. And so we'll be able to compare that in the fall when they take their second test and have a full year by next spring. Part of this, we have also implemented intervention classes on Fridays when they have their electives. I have 2 intervention classes that are going and we have them practicing with IXL. So the remote learning and practices of math and ELA predominantly, it's not writing, but they're able to get reinforcement at that time. So that's something we're working on. And our data still is not synced with Synergy and the Oregon Data Suite. And so part of our attendance and some of these things are just records that I'm trying to put together with is that we're working on in the school. Ninth grade on track. We have two students that I feel we have concern about. Both of those are in Family Academy. For Pacific, we have 100% are on track. So we have 14 that are on track, 14 to 14. And the Family Academy, we have 68% on track, which is 6 students, and 4 of those are on track. The 2 that I have concerns are the ones that I mentioned before. So in all, as a district, it's 18 out of 20 that are on track for ninth grade. And that's looking at the semester 1 grades, and then, you know, where they're currently at. I did an F list as well. D and F list for ninth grade is, right now it's showing that there are a total of 9 Fs and 2 Ds. And this is predominantly because one of our teachers, when we're talking about just synthesizing reading and writing and processing and increasing our standards, they're really working at that. And so it's just where it's falling for the grade book right now and where they're at with writing. So I'm not concerned. I really just have 2 students that I have concern for, and I'm looking at putting them on a plan to get some work done in advance since they're Family Academy, and then beginning of May, they could do credit recovery. And then hopefully by the end of the year, beginning of next, particularly just one student, she's deficit 1.5 credits. She would be able to make that up. And then our seniors, they're 100% on track. They're doing great. I have to watch the community service as it's coming through, because that's always what I'm told, end of year, something that so I've asked for a calendar and a sheet where they can just take it home, and then they can pick and choose and follow it themselves. I really want them to be able to track that. So that's something that we're working on. And we have no 5th years. They're doing well that way. Attendance, what I could pull from just average daily attendance. We have 7th grade at 85.71, 8th 80.74, 9th 85.17, 10th 85.33. And this is all days. Fridays, we're still showing we're showing less attendance on those days by at least 25%.
Ouch.
So that's decreasing, even though we did put in some extra classes and teachers for the classes that they really like culinary. We added one on, we added an art on, and those classes just tend to still be very full. We have to actually push kids away. 11th grade, 78.72%, and 12th grade, 82%. What we're looking at doing is, there's lots of different things that we're doing. So when this next week, the kids that are having a D and F, I usually try to put 2 staff onto them. So they have 2 mentor teachers. Next year, we were talking about doing 8-period day, so 7 periods with an advisory, so that they can every day start their day with what is it that they're missing, what do they need to do. So beginning and end of week, we can do that if there's any surveys, social emotional learning time, so they're not missing core class time. So that would be instilled for next year. The other thing with interventions that I'm excited about is once we get the iReady data, I've put together a document where we're going to be tracking their IXL numbers on there. And so we can show progress, and we're going to know which kids are still in red, yellow, and green by IXL by numbers, where they're struggling, things like that. And so when we get the kiddos that are coming up from 6th grade into 7th grade, we're going to be looking at all that data that comes in from iReady. Are we going to put them into interventions right away, so they're not just floundering and then we're waiting until they're in high school and then going, oh, now it counts. Well, to me, it counts the whole time. So I want them to be working hard, and I want them to have the extra help that they need. And so having these extra classes and the documentation to follow along is really important. And so that will be first time happening this spring. So, and I have a math and an ELA teacher that are a part of that. So, and then that'll be fine tuned and tweaked for next year. So that's kind of my goal, is to make things go forward better. Other than that, I've been working to increase some of the writing with bell ringers with some of the teachers, creating grids so that students know exactly where it is that they need to be during the week at all times. And when students are coming in, they have something on the board so that the students aren't just sitting there or they're messing around. It's like, nope, kids come in, they have something to do. We're taking attendance, they're moving, there's no wasted class time. So I'm just trying to think about an increase of writing and retention overall. I've also put down, I want to put into the announcements like a grade countdown, students with the highest GPA, and also the attendance per grade level. So class of, 2027, 2028. They're going to get a one day where they're going to have a party. So I'm hoping that will have a little bit of competition and fun so that they will have some enjoyment. And Yeah, gonna assign the mentor teachers. I also would like to do, I haven't heard about it, that this happened before, but do a year-end recognition ceremony for the kiddos that are honor roll, 4-point, if they have 90% or better or 100% attendance. We do have like field trips that are aligned, but I would really like to do an assembly as well and invite parents into that, and just kind of honor them for their participation and their success. So that's pretty much, the baseline of what we're doing and working on. If you have questions.
Caveat I want to give you on the 12th graders that are on track and when we get our graduation rates. We've had 100% of the kids going through here graduate since I've been here, I think before. But our numbers are always not just the kids that are here when they graduate. They're the kids that have been here throughout high school. So if we have a kid that shows up in 9th grade, goes here for a little while, moves somewhere else.
My pen
You're all
now.
witnesses.
I just gave you a pen.
Exactly.
Oh, gosh, and it's on video too.
Yeah.
Really can't deny it. But those kids that leave us and don't come back or do come back, we're still on the hook for every single one who
Yeah.
comes to Pacific for any time. So those graduation numbers to me are always a little deceiving. Some of those kids that leave us, that we really do have some serious accountability. They were here for a long time, and the majority of their high school grades would be ours, and then they go somewhere else and they count for both our graduation rates. But we also have some kids that show up for a short amount of time, are here, leave, and they count just as much as somebody who's been here for 4 years. So just want to give that caveat, because I always look at our numbers and we do a great job. And that doesn't change, but they always decrease when you look at the reality numbers that come out of ODE. So.
Well, and with that too, like we have Family Academy numbers on here, and a lot of those kiddos would leave and go to Winners Lakes for those online classes. And now we hold the majority of online platforms that are already offered and more. So there's no reason why they were going to leave. And our numbers are increasing with Family Academy.
And that's a really good point too about Family Academy and our population, because they are not a separate school. They are an alternative program for K-12. So every single one of those K-8 kids counts towards Driftwood numbers, and the high school kids that are enrolled in Family Academy count towards Pacific.
So that's a question. Are the Family Academy included in your attendance and also in your attendance, Lisa? Does those include the Family Academy?
Attendance is
That's a different beast. Okay.
Yes, because they are at home, they have different attending.
Okay, so they don't really match
Not
up.
attending requirements, they still have the
Okay.
same requirements, but the reporting is different.
Okay.
And, we continue to work on that as well, but
Okay.
their numbers would not be in the same. They're just so different.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, because that was going to confuse me.
They are
So,
apples.
yeah,
How
yeah, that I can understand that. Okay.
So on a sort of a tangent. Well, not really, but you put a comment here. We were not able to pull the 10% chronic absent list. We're working on getting this available. Glad to hear that. Are you still having problems getting data out of Synergy?
I don't know what the issue is. It's the way it was set up before I arrived and before Rusty arrived. And so there's something like Driftwood gets accurate numbers, but we don't. And so I don't know if it's how they set it up. And so Brittany's been looking into that too. And Rusty, and they're just starting to kind of pull that together so we can get active data.
Okay, because that concerns me. We pay, significant money to have a data system that we should be able to pull a ton of stuff out of, including stuff you all need for your reports.
Mhm.
Okay, that you shouldn't have me going, compiling by hand. And if that's not available at your fingertips, whatever you want, we really need to be asking why and getting somebody on that.
And we do have Brittany on it, and the caveat with Brittany is she was on leave until January, so a little bit of that is behind. She has got things worked out so that we've got accurate information back and forth at Driftwood, and she's working on those same things at the high school. And one of the reasons that Brittany is doing that is because she's the one that does the data mining for our attendance. She goes in and checks to see who's getting close to that chronic absence level at each reporting time, which is constant. It's not just at grade times, it's every week. So she's looking at those. And then when a student and families get to that point where they are at chronic absent for that point in time in the year, then we send them a letter. First letter goes out from us administratively, and there's a follow-up phone call from counselor, and then the second letter goes out if they continue to have issues with follow-up from principal. And then third letter is you've hit that chronic absentee level for the whole entire year. And we're talking about, again, having conversations with the family, another phone call from the administrator. And at that point, it used to be that we were sitting down with truancy officers and talking with the family, but those are no longer options that we have. So we do the best we can ourselves. But the data system has to be accurate from start to finish, has to be accurate with us.
Well, you just,
Entering it correctly, and then how it goes from the computer, our computer, to Synergy computer, and then how it goes from Synergy to the data warehouse.
yeah, because what, been 2 or 3 years now since
Synergy's been put.
we brought that in place, it ought to be singing arias for you by this point, okay?
I would think.
It isn't always that easy to pull the reports out. I go and I try and I'll get a report and it's kind of clunky. And so I have independently spreadsheeted it, and I do daily verifications and just add to my spreadsheet so that I have I'm constantly monitoring my friends in yellow who I need to be following up on.
Another piece we're looking at there, and this would be long-term, not short-term, and has a lot of financial research to do as well, but is switching from Synergy because we have several people that have used Power School in the past. We use that for a lot of our evaluation system, and we are looking to see if that would be a more responsive system. But part of it is internally on our side, making sure that we've got everything recorded correctly and we've got any good.
So is that something that can be addressed like through professional development with the people who is entering the data and trying to pull the reports? Or
Yes.
is it the system itself that's glitchy?
Brittany right now isn't Brittany right now in Portland?
Yeah, we've got a group.
She and
She's going, Pam's going.
I was going, Rusty is doing his remote. So Synergy has an in-person training happening in Portland this week. And we have 2 of our people there. And then Shanti and Nicola and Rusty are all going to be taking trainings online as opposed to going to the in-person training. So we have people in place with classes that should help them figure those things out too.
And I
But-
would say too, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say those online courses are,
Not the same.
they're not the same.
Oh.
And that's the majority of what they have available. It's not cheap to go in person.
Yeah.
But we're doing what we need to get up to speed.
Oh, I just say it's nice, starting the second semester with having a counselor. She's been getting acclimated, and what we do is daily, Nick will call for attendance, and then she puts that into Synergy. And then we put out letters at the quarter. So for grading and such, and that goes out. And then I have her once every 3 weeks, the counselor, then making calls, especially we know who our high flyers are and McKinney Bento and that sort of thing, to always check in and make sure that they're okay. If they're gone for more than 3 days, I'll usually get a report, and then I'll ask her to follow up and see if there's anything more that we need to do. And I only will check in if like they're still not coming in and there's nothing else that needs to get done, just because I'm used to doing that from other schools. And what I would do is have a kiddo come in with their family and just, how are things going? How can I help? Is there something going on that I'm not aware? Are they getting teased from somebody else? And sometimes, we always come up with something that's going to help them, or is it, do we need to go over like a bedtime schedule, or, what does that look like? And so, and
Buying alarm clocks.
yeah, so just really get interested in the family and that, we're with them and that we care and that we understand and, how can we help? And so those are kind of our practices in the office, so.
I'm kind of used to, from my own experience here in the school, looking at the data, and we would see a trend pretty solidly from year to year, where the ADA would pretty much reliably go up as you approach the senior year. Every year it seemed like there was a little better, a little better, a little better, a little better. That doesn't really seem to be there right at the moment. That concerns me.
That we used to have, our least, our kids that were attending the least were freshmen, and our kids attending the most were seniors.
Pretty much exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I have the data from the meeting in the fall, and so ninth grade in the fall was 84.72, and ninth grade now is 85.17.
Uh-huh.
And seniors in the fall were 85.97, and now they're 82.
82.
But
Yeah.
they've all dropped a little bit, but
Yeah. Okay.
And then, Deanna, I know you don't have the actual numbers for the 10% chronically absent. Would it be your guess that it's significantly different than Driftwood, or is it kind of, and maybe that's a hard question to answer, but is that something that you are concerned about, that, or do you feel like that's actually in good shape?
I feel, we find the same patterns, and I just haven't been able to analyze anything that's coming. So.
Okay, yeah, probably not really a fair question to.
Yeah.
We do have a fair number of letters that go out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those are the ones, that we are making contact with.
Mhm.
We do
Okay,
have-
that's
we
right,
do
'cause the
have a
ones
fair
that-
number,
yeah.
So I think it would be pretty
Okay.
similar to
Okay.
what we see at Drift.
Okay.
Thank you. Board have any further questions for Ms. Williams?
So my next piece would be if you had any questions overall, something that you forgot or just came to mind. And then, as always, as we continue to bring you data and information, input on what's effective, how things are presented, other points of data or information that you would like to hear about and expand on. We're required to share these and really look at these as indicators of how our grant money is being spent and its impact. But there's so many other things that we do and so many other factors besides those grant dollars that impact our kids' performance. If there's something more there that you're wanting or you think about, it may be something easy for us to take care of. It may be something that takes a little while to put in place, but we'll try and your data needs.
Well, we had asked if the graphs could be printed in color, and that's been done. That's very helpful.
Oh,
I'm trying to,
had black and white.
yeah, trying to determine between the shades of gray was driving us nuts there for a while. So that's nice. I guess that I'm happy with, I'm more than happy with, with the progress that can be shown within a group of students in a particular age group, et cetera, because we can see from what's been presented here that the progress is being made. I'm just still don't know what to say or think about where we're placing compared to the state, where we're still so low. And I don't know what to do or say about it.
Dibbles and iReady are both on the state list and there's only 4 or 5 now. There's only 4 or 5 assessments that are approved by Department of Ed for interim assessments.
Yeah.
And the ones we're using are on the list, and we've been using them, so we've been consistent. and our data that we get from them is consistent. I know we're implementing the assessments the right way. But you could see on those graphs that there's a huge difference between the progress our kids are showing on our assessments that we do in school.
Yeah.
And during the day in our day job, and that difference from how they're performing on the state assessments.
Yeah.
And there could be a number of reasons why that is. There could be something wrong with the state assessment. I'd like to think that first, because that's not us. There could be something that we're doing that is not helping prepare kids for the state assessment and how they take it. There could be pieces that we are really hitting the foundational skills of reading really well, and our kids are making progress there. And as we make progress there, like I said before, when you focus on something, you make progress on, have an impact. So we're focusing on those interventions and struggling readers and foundational science of reading skills. We also have to continue to build the comprehension pieces, how we focus on nonfiction reading and writing, and there's a big portion of the test and the state test that directly related to their writing skills. And you heard that those are things that as we notice those and we see those, we again will put interventions and systems in place to address them. And we should notice results as we do there, as we do with other areas that we focus on.
I will say about writing, since this is my 5th year here, we have our core ELA program, which is Wonders. And it does have writing within it. So we have rubrics that we can use. But I will say instructionally, it's lacking. There's not solid foundational writing skills. I mean, that includes handwriting, spelling. It does have a spelling component, but spelling authentically, not lists of words. And then the practice of actually doing a dedicated block of time every day for writing. If they don't write daily, that makes a big difference in their writing abilities. So with the step up to writing, it's something I was trained in my team. We have a couple of teachers who have experience with it, and it is very, very much a formulaic writing. You end up with a 5-paragraph essay. The foundations, the format, and how the writing should look. So I think that will really help us with the writing. Speaking to the OSAS, the test itself, I would, maybe I should pull it up and let you look at the questions. It is not intuitive. It is not easy to comprehend. Even as a teacher, I would go through and read the questions with students and find myself sometimes thinking like, what are they asking? This is the level at which it's written seems to be well above where our students.
And the inferential level of the questioning.
And so practicing with that. So the test itself is very difficult to navigate. And then it has a lot of writing within it. And so students need to be able to do research from different texts within
that they're
the
given,
OSAS
right,
and bring them in a short amount of time to do that. So I think practicing with it, just experience navigating the system will make a huge difference, is the way I see it. So, and that's where our efforts are going. We don't want to necessarily teach to the test. We want to teach them the foundational skills that will help them be successful.
I agree with a lot of what you're saying. And sometimes I wonder if we don't freak our kids out about the state testing. Because the dibbles is something that they see regular in their classroom as part of those interim assessments. And the iReady is a program that we even use as part of the curriculum, so they're familiar with that. And all of a sudden we start getting close to the state testing and the letters go home. Make sure your kid has had this for breakfast. Make sure your kid is in bed by this time. Make sure that your kid is doing this. And then you have all of this hoopla of, oh man, okay, so here's your snacks for this test. And now we're gonna go and have a brain break. So we're gonna go out and have an extra 10-minute recess and stuff. And with that amount of focus on it, for some of those students who have test anxiety already, I mean, that's enough to put you over the top of, you're already building up that, man, whatever this test is it something and stuff? And are we even partially shutting them down before they even get started with just all of that hoopla? And the teachers feel a lot of pressure about it, and kids pick up on what the adults around them are feeling and thinking. And especially in a lot of the populations within our community where, you grow up with a hypervigilance of what's going on around you. And I'm not saying that we're wrong in making sure that they've had their snacks and stuff, but I just sometimes wonder if that amount of intense focus that we spend in those first couple of weeks of April when they're doing the testing, and I don't know exactly how they're done here, but in some schools that I've seen, they go to a separate room, they go to the library to test, and they have this special person who does the test, and the state tests have a lot of rules and regulations about how it's administered and stuff, and it's just a lot from the top down, even on what happens during a state test.
There's no help at all during a state test.
Yeah.
So whether it's formatting or anything.
Yeah.
You really have nothing to help kids, and it's really tough. We should not be helping them do something that's gonna change their score, and give us a different idea of what kind of knowledge and skills they have. But we should be able to help them with some of those formatting things and being able to navigate the technology. And there are tons of factors.
Right.
Yeah.
We are working to take control over the ones that we have and have it be a positive impact for our kids and for our teachers who are working to help them.
Yeah.
I think
So-
understanding though too, what is best practice. And so most of the time you're going to have an increase in testing when you test with your core teacher and you don't go to a separate room when you don't have it done by a teacher that doesn't normally do that. And so I think, getting rid of those obstacles and setting it up so when kids come in, this is the way it's going to look like. So when I was a teacher and I was an ELA teacher, I would have, starting in December, I would have them once a week. We're going to go through a practice together. And then we would do that. We would go over the vocabulary. We would go over all the tools. And so the school that I was at, it was so low. It was 32% or something. And so the 5 years that I was there, it went up to 47. And I think a lot of that was just because I wasn't teaching to the test. I was just getting them comfortable with the format, and I would say, yes, we can chew gum at this time, 5%, like whatever that I could increase, and I only have to read these directions one time. And it's just because I want to make sure that everybody hears it. And then we would go to the more concise version. But I would always tell them ahead of time. So to me, taking out the stress and knowing what is best practice and then bringing that into the kids is most important. And so I would always go, hey, this is what it's going to look like. And I would just tell them. And then I would say, okay, now I'm going to start reading it. Do we have any questions? Is there anything we need to know? Is all of our stuff put away? And then they could breathe. And so I just found we had really good results. And another thing that I don't know if the board is aware is when you get into middle school and high school, and especially in the spring, there are so many tests that occur that the top students aren't wanting to do a state test because that score can't get them anywhere essentially. And so they don't want to do that. They're already like, well, I'm already taking this test and I'm doing this, or I have sports and I'm tired. And so parents opt them out. Whereas, even last year, the school I was at, I was starting to make the push of, if we could get you to just say thank you to your teachers, even if it's just 1 week, just say thank you. Because once we get that data, a lot of teachers do want to use that for their own goals because it's something that they can unite curriculums with and use in the school. And so, it did increase, and it was just doing rewards, even though I don't like to be part of a reward system. I believe in being internally motivated. I still think it helped. And other teachers came in and they were doing that as well. And so, it turned out to improve the scores quite a bit in participation. So.
And I am not criticizing the rewards and the brain race and all of that. I do want to make that clear. I'm just saying, it seems like that's the only time you really hear about them and stuff. And where are they in September, October, November, December, January, February, and March? And
that's why
things
things are
like that.
reputed, is
Yeah.
because or we leave that score anyways because there's so much height.
And then my other thing is going back to the writing. A lot of things when you're in your writing, you're learning some of that academic vocabulary. And I sometimes wonder also, understanding the academic vocabulary, I think, is an issue for a large part of our students.
Right, that increases the comprehension, and it's not teaching to the test to support them in testing strategies and how to metabolize their or, you know, just any of that verbiage that they're going to see that they might not be very familiar with. That really isn't the subject they're being tested on, but how they're being tested supports them.
Compare and contrast. What does that mean? Sometimes you have a lesson about comparing, and sometimes there's lessons about contrasting, but do they ever blend it together, you know?
We can
And I
also
don't
then go
know.
into AI and that a
Yeah.
lot of these templates are pre-generated for them and they are not thinking more critically or reasoning at a level that they should,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
So reading and writing do develop together, and so they need to be reading or to write, they need to be writing in order to read. So if we are aligning those two practices in the classroom, I think it'll definitely help them. And that's the push that we're making with our understanding informational text and also embedding more writing into our curriculum. That is the goal, is that they'll have these opportunities for practice. They'll be proficient at it, and they'll also have access to what the platform looks like. So altogether, it'll be, the systems will come together.
Well, in building those systems too, we're working really hard to get the intervention systems in place and helping kids learn to read. But once they learn to read, then we've got to have that next set of systems that helps them read to learn and really embeds that. And so they're getting that level of comprehension and they're having that level of critical thinking as they read and as they write. And those are all things to build on and what we're working towards.
So do teachers have access to online samples, smarter balance tests? Is that a thing that exists and is available easily, or is that, okay? Okay,
Currently, most of the teachers are currently working on some of the practice tests.
right,
And
okay.
they've had concerns over Chromebook size and navigation and trying to get the kids used to, you know, doing that and switching screens. And so there's been quite a bit of effort, at least at the 6th grade level, trying to get kids so that they're really dialed into what it's going to look like and feel like and how they should be responding.
Good.
Especially for our 3rd graders who have not seen.
Done it
yet.
at all, yeah.
Yeah, this is their first go of it to be comfortable with.
I'm 62.5 years old, 63, and still remember the state test.
We, you know, it wouldn't be a bad activity for us to take a 3rd test or a 5th grade test. We wouldn't have to share results.
Smarter than
But-
the average 5th grader.
But I remember when I first started teaching and I had to give my first state test at the 3rd grade level, and I'm looking at the math problems and it was stuff that I had when I was in middle school. And it keeps bumping up and bumping up and bumping up, and kids are capable, but where is that happy medium of really demonstrating proficiency at that age? That's a whole nother piece of the puzzle. So we keep working to try to make all the puzzle pieces fit.
I understand, yeah. Reading across the curriculum, everyone seems to pretty much get that that's essential. Writing across the curriculum, across all the grade levels is not always. I mean, it seems like it comes and goes. I mean, it was strong here for a while. It seems like it's kind of faded away. But that's something that we need to be, I guess, I shouldn't say that, 'cause I'm a school board member. I guess that's something that I would ask that is looked at. Do we have a scope and sequence that involves as the one right on my head? That's not a suggestion. An expectation of some kind of writing every day. Or that their regular homework, whatever kind of work to begin, requires handwritten
response.
You know, you can't just image generate it or tap it out on your Chromebook
Or you at least have to spend the time to rewrite it in your handwriting.
anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't, if the writing is such a big piece, and I know that it is because I've given that exam, then it's not teaching to the test, to teach kids to write, okay? So, and to expect them to write. So I guess that's what I would ask. If we look at scope and sequence as it applies specifically to writing skills, you know, all the way through grade 12.
Well, like Donna said, the reading do build each other.
Absolutely.
Along with the speaking.
Yeah.
And it actually, I mean, in the research in the science of reading, a lot of things that whole theory came out of was the research showing that a lot of these like tablets and even these preschool games where, you know, they're just tracing on a tablet does not have the same effect on brain development as them actually holding a writing utensil and putting it on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And there's like a physical feedback on it, or how much
This message has to go through your arm and your fingers.
Ms. Williams and Aaron both mentioned here tonight the impact of AI on education, and it's not been positive in the sense that it takes away one more opportunity to think critically on your own about things, or to learn to put a thought onto paper from your own perspective and your understanding. It's hard to assess what a kid's writing ability is if they're just copying down something they looked up on. You know, so there has been a ton of articles in the last few months, including the past week and a half, on this very subject, what teachers are doing in response to try to tip the scale back towards authentic learning as opposed to simulated learning. And yeah, getting back to regular daily writing skills seems to be a big piece of it. Yeah.
Or even if they can, you know, decide if they're going to print and not do cursive, you know, because if cursive is not going to be a part of the extended curriculum, then don't teach it. You know, they're going to be typing and texting and things like that. Don't waste a whole year in third grade when they're going to start, you know, doing that. But recently I heard that Sweden.
It's bringing back cursive.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that article too.
Within their schools.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
They have, yeah.
There was one yesterday.
And like the leaders, I've, you know, been wanting to.
There was one yesterday, this revolutionary idea that this teacher had. She banned phones and computers from her classroom, and she's making kids write notebooks. Shocking, you know, but it's working.
Really hard that
And the kids were commenting how cool it was because they got to decorate the covers.
one is paired with an online component. And so you adopt it and you might get something to fit, but the student notebook is actually an ebook and they're doing their right. And so we're kind of being guided into this realm that's really not the best for us.
Well, and so many curriculums options are only online too, which is another issue.
So just to flip the script, I will have to say there are cursive worksheets happening.
Yep.
And I remember your enthusiasm over the Cornell notes, and I wonder if that's
We're teaching that in the intervention class. Yeah.
right. So doing the things.
Yeah, I'm also trying to align, are we going to be MLA or APA? And so a lot of that is coming into the fall if we're going to do SOU or OIT or different learning platforms for dual credit and stuff for next year.
Mhm.
And because sometimes they want you to be assigned MLA or APA, and science and math prefer APA. And then the others, social studies and ELA want MLA. And so I would like to see like that was something that was district just enforce so that they get all the practices that they can. I mean, they're easy sites. You go and you plug it in and you put it on, but it's still a different way to communicate. So then they're really ready.
Any further questions from the board or comments from our administrators?
A great discussion about writing.
Great.
All right. Thank you all.
Yeah, no further business. I don't need a motion. I'm going to call the meeting to adjourn. Thank you.
You all.
Everyone. Anybody?
The one that you're facing to me, that was a really cool one. Yeah, that was cool to see